important. Someone wants to know how we dealt with feelings,
Hmm.
emotions, and how did we overcome falling due to sexual urges?
Please.
Pastor,
There
please answer the question. Apostle, over to you.
was one day you helped me. I was, and it's man of God. I will never forget that. Man of God just reset me straight
Oh
up.
my goodness! I think that let me let you.
The Lord helped
It was
us.
the Lord. It was not the Lord. Over like it really was
The
the
Lord
Lord.
helped us.
It really was, and I think people need to understand that no matter how spiritual you are, sexual temptation is a real thing. And it's interesting because God puts it there for a particular time, so He's not going to remove it because you need it eventually. You need it in the relationship. So you first of all need to be led by the Holy Ghost, and then really
Do your best to
use
put
your
checks in
common
place.
sense.
The reality is, even that is not all there is, because I mean we're very accountable to people, to our parents, but somehow, some way, sometimes, in fact, there were times I will come to your house, I'll visit, it's a full house, then everybody's going out, just going about their day. Hey, I'm going to the market, I'm going to the
I don't
and then
know
I'm
if
s-
you are
then,
alone.
then the man of God is speaking in tongues. You want to touch me? I say, hey, get it behind
Yes,
me.
that's what happened.
Yes.
Angels.
You know,
Thank God they are saved by grace.
I was speaking in tongues.
But anyway, but I just want you to know that a sexually pure relationship where you wait until the wedding night for sex is possible, and that
God still helped us do
God
it.
still helped us do it, yes. And that even when you do cross your boundaries, you can always get up, be accountable, and do better, and have a wedding date in mind. Because if you're just dating endlessly, like at least if there's a wedding date, okay, this
Exactly.
is the day that there will be the fulfillment of the promise. But when you're just dating,
That's why
without end.
our first fight was our first almost fight was the wedding reception. Because
he was looking for me.
Because after I've waited all these years, you're now greeting people.
I went to change
Do
my
fast,
dress.
make we go out.
I
Now.
was angry. Oh.
What are you talking about? Do fast, make we go.
Oh my God! Someone says, did we have any doubts during the engagement period, and how did we deal with it? Because as young people, you discover you're likely the only married people in your friendship circle. I think that was true. I think we're one of the first amongst our friends to
Answer that question.
get married, and I think that if we were not engaged as early as we were, which is why I'm happy you asked me to marry you early, I think we may have broken up if we're not engaged as early as we were.
Okay.
So I truly believe that, first of all, there was a statement of commitment that we were going to be doing this for life. So that helped us not just say, oh, well, he said this or she said this and just end it. I think that helped us be better committed to each other. And then I think that I always trusted what God had told me about you. I always trusted your love for me, even in times when things were rocky. And then somehow, you actually love me.
Oh, I do.
My husband actually loves
I
me.
do.
So even when things were rocky, I think there was always understanding. There were times I was really difficult, but eventually there was always understanding. I don't even remember that day that we almost broke up.
I know. I never.
It's sweet sensation. In fact, like I'm not doing it again. So who will now go now after saying we are done? We're now sitting down there.
That's not the way I remember it, but no problem.
Okay,
I just really
you
thank God
remember-
that we're here today,
Yeah.
and I have no regrets.
Yes, I think that's because now I'm remembering that it was more complicated. But yes, what he said. What do you think should be the maximum age gap between a couple?
That's a difficult question. I feel like the difficulty is not because of any doctrinal limitation, but the reality is that there are practical limitations, and that's what makes it something to really consider. You have to understand that even if it's just a 3-year gap, sometimes it's a lot for two reasons. Number one, just for instance, not because the people I'm about to use as an example should be thinking of marriage or anything. If you are in secondary school, maybe SS2, and someone is in year 1 in the university, even if it's just 2 years or 3 years gap, the exposure is, very, very. So there's a lot of exposure difference, and then generally, it can be easier when it is the guy who is significantly older. But when it is the girl older, naturally, girls mature faster than guys. So, like someone brilliantly said, at the age of 5, a girl has already very likely pictured what her wedding would be like, what she will wear and stuff like that. And a guy is just playing Superman and Batman at that age, And practically, when a guy and a girl graduate same class from the university, the girl is almost ready psychologically for marriage on average, but the guy it's just like there's this secret pressure that my life is just starting, and that just tells you that there is a huge divide. And that's why even if you are dating your age mate, the guy will have to step up and take some responsibility. So it's now even a more precarious, somewhat challenging circumstance when she is even older. All right. So I mean, it depends on the age. Just imagine a 22-year-old guy dating a 28-year-old lady. Maybe he just graduated. She's ready for marriage. And whether you like it or not, even if they don't mind, there's also a biological clock. Ladies have menopause and guys are till infinity. So you see, when ladies are trying to put pressure, or on you or any such thing, just remember that the dynamics are different for them. So there are just some things that make it practically difficult or challenging. And that's why if the girl is going to be older, I would say maybe 3 years max. I would say I'm speaking like Paul.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would say.
I think just basically putting into cognizance everything that Pastor has said. I've seen 4 years gaps that have worked. Do you understand? But really, it's about your level of exposure, and then can you submit to this person who is younger than you?
Because Bible rules are Bible rules.
Yeah. So you still have to submit to him, even though you are younger. You still have to submit to him as the head of the relationship. Somebody was asking that, how do you settle with one person when there might be somebody better outside? But I think how are you sure this is the person?
Please don't date. And in your mind, you are waiting for someone better to show up. I think it's a very dishonest thing to do. Don't use anyone to fill your space, that space in your heart. No economic, no manipulation of that sort. I said economic, that was wrong. No manipulation of that sort. When you pick one person, you are going to favor the person above everyone else in the world. And
I think we need to realize that relationships are not a hobby, because sometimes people just pick this person to be dating until they feel their own spouse will come out. Sometimes what happens is your own spouse now comes, but you're already occupied. The person doesn't want you to cheat, so they walk away. So many times you have to be okay with being single. I talk about this in my book, Dating Intelligently.
So if you want to wait. If you think that under normal circumstances, this is not the person you settle with, then just wait.
Then just wait.
Because the reality of the situation is both of you will get better with time as your career goals are achieved, as you become more mature, more confident, and all of that. And so, if you have that mindset, even in the deepest recesses of your mind, you are going to be more susceptible to temptation. So you want to avoid that.
Yeah, I think that's really beautifully said. Somebody wants to know how I dealt with my first pregnancy. When we were married young, like I remember thinking to myself, like, I was just my mommy's baby yesterday and now I have a baby. So
listen, first and foremost, as a guy, I think that your respect for women will go through the roof, when you see a human being coming out of your wife. It's not easy at all.
It's not. I remember you cried that day, the day Adima came, and you said, "This girl, if you're ever rude to my wife, I'm gonna deal with you.
I will spank you." I think that was one of the first things I
That was the first thing you said.
If you disrespect this woman, I'm going to descend on you.
Like a newborn baby.
So I think psychologically, I had to be strong for you. Like you were going through a lot, and I couldn't respond. Then I was seeing a lot of things
that I wasn't seeing, but I was
exactly like. So I had to be strong. So the moment you were done and your own crying finished, and I held the baby, I didn't even know what came over me. I just started crying. All the bottled emotions.
Oh my goodness. But I think handling it, I think first of all,
and the baby just came out with eyes wide open, looking at everyone like,
and yellow, like I was like, this girl so fair. Well, for me, I was grateful to, I think, having exposed to leadership quite early, and I used to. I was one of those people that
used a strong woman. Really?
I was one of those people that used to go to orphanages, try and even from when I was in children's church, I used to take care of the younger children. So I'd always really wanted to be a mom. So I guess that really helped. And then having a strong support system, there was you, and my mom stayed with us for like 6 months.
I think that's what made the whole situation very scary for me, because seeing you, one of the strongest women I know, the way you reacted to that, I said this thing must be very painful. The way you did command me, rub my back, leave me alone. One time you were squeezing my hand, I said, you will break this hand.
Can you remember Nadia's one? I actually wanted to bite your hand. It was when you said,
relief pain.
I said, don't bite me. Oh my God. Somebody wants to know, we're going to have to begin to round off shortly. I think we should be done here by 7. But someone wants to know, do you need to have financial stability before getting married to your partner? Do you need to have it all before marriage?
No, we definitely didn't even have it.
That's why we're talking about Introtech.
You go. So, I think what you really need to have is a sense of direction, career-wise. You must have a career path. Listen, so even if you don't need to have it all, the person must be able to see a track record of consistency in your life. That this person, a lot of ladies just marry a lazy guy who would not really exert himself, has no desire to improve, do well for the family. Some would allow their wives to be working, bringing money home, taking care of everybody and all of that. You need to look out for that because, I'm not going to comment on that.
So it's not saying that women should not work. It's just saying that you don't just leave everything to your wife.
I'm telling you. So there should be a track record of consistency, and then you see a clear career path. This person is not where he wants to be, but he's not where he used to be. I think that's very clear. So because you must be able to bet on the person's future. That's what saying yes to someone is. You're taking a bet on the person's future, and it has to be beyond emotions. See, and that's why I said marriage is a project.
Yeah.
So butterflies aside, it's not I love you that's going to pay children's school fees. It's not I love you that's going to, and that's why I think you were also someone of great forecast. I even need to ask you, like, how are you crazy enough to take a bet with someone like me? Because on one hand, I knew, like,
like that question there, I know you've mentioned it to me before. You once said thank you for believing in me when there was nothing to believe in. But the thing is that the way I've always seen you, like, you've always been a very big deal to me. So maybe it's a gift of grace. Maybe it's, I don't know, but you've always
definitely
been
a gift of grace.
You've always been like a really big deal to me. Even when people say, "Oh, is that him?" or I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I couldn't. You've always been a big deal to me. So I don't know if it's
like,
really
I understand
required.
like me being a big deal to you ministry wise, but when it comes to saying yes to someone who has a call to ministry, and you get what I'm saying. And thank God I was willing to take a job for a 1 year period.
Yes.
But
was it even up to a year? It was a couple of months.
It was exactly. But the reality is, you did say yes before then, and it's very interesting.
I have to investigate that. I think also because I had seen you build stuff.
Yes.
I had seen you build stuff, and I could see your heart.
Yes.
And I just knew.
And then
you.
in retrospect also, I just had a very, very sacred mindset of ministry, because it's not as if our ministry was really doing bad.
No,
because there were. I know in my final year, our fellowship actually recorded an inflow of 1 million. In one particular month.
Wow.
When we sold, I think we sold 2,000 copies of devotional then. But the reality is, I never put myself on a salary or any such thing.
So the 1 million, no, it was not for us. It was for the world.
Actually.
And then that was actually a windfall season, because it wasn't as if it was something that we consistently had. But I think it was largely a gift of grace. I think
Definitely.
I always knew that.
Definitely.
And then for me, being with you was price enough. So even if 7 years later
You're
we're still
me with all these words.
Valentine, do something, shake body.
Remember that next time, quarrel. Anyway.
Qual what? Qual PL? Quarrel.
What's that?
But I wanted to say that even if we were still pastoring a church in Ikotun, it would have still been a lot.
Oh, yeah. See, I think I want to say this, that many times people see us. I don't even know what people see when they look at us, because God has helped us to be really content. And now I don't even really dwell on the glamour that people see. Like, there was something big that happened in the ministry, and someone tapped me and said, "Pastor, how do you feel?" And that's when I really thought about it, that, oh, this is big. Like, I just want to please God.
And I think that's the price for me, because I always wanted somebody who just wanted to do what God will have him do. And for me, that was a big deal. So it's incredible that God is having us have an international ministry and travel the world and things like that. But I really wanted somebody who would just follow the Lord. And I guess that's always been it for me, really.
Mariuelo. Oh, God.
Somebody wants to know, how did we deal with the fear of, okay, not us, but how do you deal with the fear of getting married, especially when you come from a broken home?
I feel like you have to change your environment. It's very important, because no matter how spiritual you are, you see, never joke with what psychologists call mental models. And if you don't have any close example of good marriages, you have to consciously remove yourself from that space, renew your mind with the word of God, and if possible, just try to you need good pastors as models, not just pastors who know the word, but have like something remotely close to the kind of marriage that you want and all of that. I think that's one of the best things you can do for yourself, because if you're from a broken home, sometimes we underestimate the impact that such things have on us, and some people actually never really recover. There are some people that even when they find the right person, they are subconsciously projecting the failures of their father or their mom on that person, and some of the innocent questions. There's a way someone can ask you a question and you misjudge the motives of the question, and you answer based on what you think the person is asking, and
because your worldview is shaped by what you've seen.
Exactly. And then you just wonder why you're always quarreling. And it's a huge psychological battle. You have to renew your mind. You have to look for good examples and dwell on them as much as possible.
Intelligently. I was telling them to get me a copy of Dating Intelligently because there I talk about dealing with the ghosts of relationship.
Well, the way this mic works, even if you whisper, it will still pick it.
So, anyways, I just said it in the mic directly. But in the book, I talk about dealing with ghosts of relationships past, and I truly believe that it is possible to change the trajectory for your family.
That book is a very good book, by the way. I think.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
From past state, that means the world to me.
Dating Intelligently is a good book.
Yeah, so please get your copy of Dating Intelligently on datingintelligently.com. I talk about dealing with ghosts of relationship past, and I wanted to let you know that regardless of the bloodline or what has happened in your family, you now belong to the bloodline of Christ. So by the Spirit of God, you can change the trajectory of your future, of your marriage, and you need to let fear out of the window. So you need to deal with this in the place of the word and prayer, as well as changing your mindset, exposing yourself to a better environment by seeing the kind of marriages that you want to see growing up, and by always remembering that it is possible to have a good marriage regardless of the kind of marriage that you are coming from.
Amen.
All right, one last question.
Okay.
And then we'll do our final words and be out of here. Pastor, they want to know, do I want to answer this question? They want to know if you paid bride price and what is your view on bride price?
Well, if you've met my parents-in-law, you know that they are one of the most reasonable, kindest people, that you would ever meet. So even the sheer idea of a high bride price was visibly irritating to my father-in-law, and his wife. So they at least they said to me at least 3 times that our daughter is not for sale. They said that, and they didn't need to make any comment on that. So, but symbolically that day they just made me bring 7 notes. In fact, they said any denomination of my choice. So I think culturally either 7 or 14. I think.
I can't remember.
I think it was 14 notes, and they said it can be either
100 naira, 500 naira, 1,000.
Exactly. What any currency or any. I brought 14,000.
Expensive wife.
And
it
was just symbolic. And there were a couple of other things that we just did.
Your family was very, very generous. Really, they really went out of their way. I think that one of my greatest rewards of marrying you has been your family.
I can say the same. I mean, your parents, they were here yesterday, and you were not even around. You were in Ibadan, and they were here. Your dad and I watched the football game together. It was really fun. I really loved them.
I love your family too. Yeah, they're incredible.
And then we took pictures afterwards. It was fun.
My dad went somewhere and they introduced him as Pastor Aaron's father-in-law. Oh my goodness.
He told me about it.
Yeah. So final words on marrying young. Will you go first or do I go first? Will you go first?
Okay. I can.
Okay, go first. You go first.
Not like I have anything to say.
Let me say something so that I'll give you more time to think about, since it wasn't part of our list of questions. I think that many times people associate youth with foolishness. And they say, oh, well, you're young, now's the time to make mistakes, now's the time to... And sometimes I get where they're coming from, but I truly believe that you can be young and make good decisions. And I feel like many of us need to recalibrate our minds to understand that you can be young and make good decisions about your relationship, make good decisions about your career. I remember telling one of my aunties then, who eventually became one of my closest aunties to you. So now I want to get married. She said, okay, what of the masters that your mates are doing? You don't want to do it. It's like, why the rush? So I think that sometimes when you are young and you know where you're going and you know what God will have you do, don't always feel... Paul told Timothy, he said, don't let anybody despise your youth. Meaning that there's a tendency for people to actually look down on you, whether it's about your ministry or your business or your relationship, because you are young. But I would say that as a young person, yes, take good advice, but if God has asked you to do something, whether in your relationship or otherwise, and you are ready, I think that it's important that you take that leap of faith and know that you can make the right decision the first time. I'm not saying you must date the person, you must marry the person you are dating now, or you must marry before a particular age, but don't just sell yourself short because you are young. Experience isn't always the best teacher. You can read books like this book, Date Intelligently, study the word of God, listen to messages, and if you find yourself in an environment that God has placed you in, that you can sense, for example, from one of my earliest interactions with what is now Celebration Church, I knew that this was something that God wanted me to do for life. And so you find yourself in that kind of environment and you know it in your spirits, embrace it wholeheartedly and don't worry about your age. God is old enough to carry you. So I think that's powerful.
And I think what I will just say is this: a better clock to make your life decisions by will not be your biological clock, but your purpose clock. So you are old enough when you know why you're here, when you have a sense of direction in your life, so that's very important, because when it all comes down to it, we are not by any stretch saying that you have to marry young. or you have to marry old. It depends on who you are. Some people are ready for marriage only at the age of 35. Some are ready for God's sake. I've said this. According to Bible history, Mary and Joseph were teenagers. Were actually teenagers. Some say 16, 17, that young. And you may argue, based on our definition of the age where the state considers it to be an adult, but that hasn't really always applied. But the reality of the situation is they felt they were ready. God felt they were ready. And all of that. And some people are ready at such a young age. And honestly, not every 30-year-old I've seen
tell me about it
is ready for marriage. So I think it all boils down to purpose. You need to discover why you're here, discover God's purpose for your life, and nothing matures a man or a woman like purpose.
Took me word.
It's almost as if your life begins to count when you find Jesus. That was the case for me. Like, it was such a switch. The moment I got born again, I didn't want to waste my time, and everything about me took on a whole new meaning. And it was very visible very early. Like, people who had known me before would literally ask me, "What's going on? What has changed?" So I just had a sense of direction, somewhat a sense of urgency when ministry started, and so there was no waste of time. There is this lie of the enemy that you need to explore life. See, many Christians still have a secular worldview. And it's an unspoken secret consideration in their mind that I want to explore. They feel like their youth will be stolen from them if they settle on time. And that's sin. That's actually sin, luring you. Because I don't know what, I think I've had the time of my life. I don't think you've slowed me down in any way. I think it's been very adventurous, and it's just beautiful doing purpose with you. Somehow, not everybody thinks like this, but when my wife is in Ibadan preaching and I'm on Lagos Island preaching, and then she goes to Abuja.
Like this preaching thing really tells you when I don't understand what's going on.
I will say the rest off camera, but like it was top on the list for me. Like, let's share with you for this Satan together. You understand? So that was my own idea of just doing ministry together and all of that. And I think that's what really measures if you're ready or not.
And thank you so much, Pastor, for being here today.
Thank you.
We've joked around a lot, but I really am honored that you spent your time
Thank
with
you
us
for
today. You guys, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and subscribe to
this channel.
Pastor's channel as well.
Oh yeah, you can subscribe to my channel too. But hey, if you're here, please subscribe to this channel. Guess what? Nobody sees the notifications for those who are subscribed. So go ahead, Nicodemus, subscribe. Nobody's going to know.
And Pastor's
I'm saying that because I know a lot of people follow our channel who don't subscribe.
So we wouldn't know you are the one. You just add to the numbers.
Exactly. And then click the bell button until you see the parentheses so that you can be notified as soon as we are live or she is live.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's.
Even if you don't have a boo, Jesus is your boo.
And even if you're single, at least you have a singlet.
Thank you. That helps. And even if you chop breakfast, God is preparing dinner for you in the presence of your enemies.
So is it God preparing the breakfast? Maybe this is a sign from God. If you're dating the wrong person, God's breakfast
is coming. You guys, thank you all for joining in. Have a great evening.